Why do you spend years trying to fix someone, only to find that they have broken you instead? Why does your desire to save them always end with you needing to be saved? There is a cold, devastating psychological truth behind this. Arthur Schopenhauer warned that a person's character is absolutely immutable. To believe you can change someone's core nature is like expecting a stone to float. In this video, we look at why you must stop trying to fix people and how to reclaim your own life. Let's start with the first truth, a dangerous illusion. 1. The illusion of reform. Look at the life of the great writer Leo Tolstoy to see the tragedy of this illusion. In his later years, Tolstoy went through a deep spiritual crisis and became obsessed with reforming his family's lifestyle according to his own ideals. He wanted them to give up their entire wealth, their massive royalties, and live a life of asceticism, doing manual labor like poor peasants. But Tolstoy made a fatal mistake. He falsely believed that his love and high ideals could force or transform the core nature of those around him. His wife, Sophia, a practical woman who had stood by him all his life, had to fight bitterly to protect their children's rights and future. Tolstoy's stubborn imposition and his family's fierce resistance turned their home into a living hell of arguments and misery that lasted for years. What was the result of this futile reform effort? At the age of 82, on a freezing winter night, the great writer had to flee his home in absolute despair, only to take his last breath alone at a remote railway station. You feel the exhausting repetition of the same argument. Arguing or talking further only prolongs the cycle. Instead, observe only their actions. This is the illusion of reform. You believe that with enough patience and love you can rewrite their personality. But that is not hope, that is denial. Schopenhauer observed that we cannot change what people are. We can only change what they do temporarily through fear or reward. But the moment the pressure stops, their true nature returns. You cannot cure a disease that the patient enjoys. 2. The immutability of character. Imagine trying to polish a piece of black charcoal. You expect it to turn into a glittering diamond. You wash it, you scrub it, but the charcoal remains black, and your hands are covered in soot. Schopenhauer wrote, "Character is inborn and constant. It is a biological law. It will not change for your advice." To expect a deceitful person to become honest is like expecting a dog to speak French. It is a biological impossibility. Wasting your polish on charcoal will never make it shine. You are only making your own hands dirty. 3. Why people resent being fixed. Look at Socrates in ancient Greece for a painful historical proof. He spent his life walking the streets of Athens, constantly questioning everyone from arrogant intellectuals to ordinary citizens. Socrates truly believed he was saving them from their own ignorance and delusions. He believed he was performing a noble deed, dispensing wisdom. But the harsh reality proved otherwise. The people he tried to help felt no gratitude. They only felt their self-esteem trampled and their egos deeply wounded when their limitations were exposed in front of everyone. Resentment smoldered and accumulated over the years. In the end, the citizens of Athens allied against him and sentenced Socrates to death by hemlock, simply to silence the voice that tried to fix them. They were willing to kill their greatest teacher, rather than accept changing themselves. You feel a sharp sting of rejection. Watch their reaction. It is not confusion, it is anger. They do not want to be fixed because they do not believe they are broken. When you try to fix someone, you are sending a subtext. You are saying, "You are not good enough as you are." They protect their ego by attacking you. Jung would say you are activating their shadow. They project their self-hatred onto you. Taking on the role of their therapist only creates codependency. They will hate you for pointing out the prison they chose to live in. 4. The cost of emotional rescue. You spend all your energy solving their crises. You skip sleep. You lend them money. You make excuses for their bad behavior. You look in the mirror. You look pale and exhausted. This is the savior complex. You are drowning yourself to keep them afloat. But here is the brutal truth. While you are busy saving them, who is saving you? Schopenhauer wrote that pity without boundaries is a form of self-destruction. You have become their emotional crutch. As long as you carry them, they never have to walk. You are not saving them. You are delaying their awakening. You are paying for it with your own life. The way out, accepting their nature. When you decide to stop trying to change them, a truth will appear clearly before you. This is who they truly are, and they will never change. They will continue to repeat their lies, continue to complain, or rush headlong into self-destructive behaviors as they always have. At first, realizing this might bring a sense of profound disappointment, a heavy, quiet sadness. But right after that comes a feeling of immense relief. Accepting reality is not a weak surrender or helpless resignation. It is the very pinnacle of clarity and wisdom. Arthur Schopenhauer offered a deeply profound piece of advice. You must view a person's character in the same way you look at the shapes of stones on the road. Some stones are round and smooth, while others are rough and sharp enough to make you bleed. You cannot use your bare hands or words of advice to smooth out a sharp stone. The only and wisest thing you can do is decide whether you want to continue walking on a path covered in those sharp stones. If their nature is toxic and constantly hurts you, have the courage to choose distance. You were not born to suffer the consequences of other people's wrong choices, and you are under no obligation to let their chaos ruin your life. Remember, the highest and most sacred duty in your life is to protect your own peace of mind. Understanding the psychology of the savior trap, the desire to fix people is not always a sign of kindness. It is often a projection of your own unresolved need for control. You try to fix their chaos because you cannot face your own quiet emptiness. Understanding this is not about blaming yourself. It is about realizing that you can only fix one person, yourself. To react wisely, the first step is to learn the art of silence. Stop offering unsolicited advice. Let them experience and face the natural consequences of their own mistakes. Instead of pouring all your energy into fixing someone else's life, turn back and focus on healing your own unresolved wounds. Establish a firm boundary of emotional distance, and finally, choose quiet acceptance over exhausting yourself in futile efforts of reform. You cannot teach someone to value your peace when they thrive on their own chaos. Realizing you can't fix them is a quiet, heavy grief, but it is also where your own healing begins. You have to let go of the fantasy of who they could be, and finally accept who they chose to remain. If you want to understand psychology and Schopenhauer's philosophy, subscribe now. Understand human nature and take back control of your life.